Most people here know, we're done with the thank you part. Most people here know that my mom is very involved in Jewish education. And I remember she was once on a panel for Jewish education and dealt with some of the challenges and advances in Jewish education. And there was someone on that panel, I'm not going to mention who, he was a rabbi from Israel. He came from a school, yeshiva in Israel. And he, it was his turn to speak, and he said, you know what the problem is with Jewish education? The problem is I come from Israel, I come to America, and I talk to these high school boys to interview them for my school, and ask them a simple question. I ask them, what is God? What is your relationship with God? And these kids, the high school boys, they can't answer my question. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, try getting a teenage boy to answer any question in more than one word, you're pretty lucky, but fine. As I walk out from that, I'm thinking to myself, what's my answer to that question? How would I answer that question? And so I'm gathering thoughts in my head, and I kind of formulate something. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that there are some questions that you just can't answer. There's some questions that just don't get put into words. You can't even describe them. Now that, I've wanted to make Aliyah for a while, many people know, but now that it's become official, so the question comes up, why? Why do you want to make Aliyah? What's your reason for making Aliyah? Nefesh B'Nefesh and the Jewish Agency both ask you this question, and in the small text box they give you, you can't really fill out a big idea. It kind of cuts you off after a certain number of characters. But why? Why do you want to make Aliyah? And the reason, the truth is, I could give you 101 reasons why I want to make Aliyah. I can start with the Chumash. And I can start with the story from last week's Parsha, the Meraglim. The Meraglim come back, the spies come back from Eretz Yisrael, from Israel, and they tell the Jews, it's impossible, we can't do it. It's too dangerous, we can't beat them. And I'm sure they threw in every excuse in the book. Taxes are high there, and financially it can't be done, and you have to work on Sunday, and there's no Ziplocs. Every excuse I'm sure they throw in there. And Kalev turns back to them, and what does Kalev say? I don't know this one by heart. Vayahas Kalev. Rashi says, Vayahas is Lashon Shah. Just be quiet, everyone. He says, Vayomer, Alona Ale, we're going to go up by Yarishenu, and we're going to take over Eretz Yisrael, because we can do it. And if you ever forget that, if you get confused and it doesn't really resonate, just remember, which he says in a couple of psukim later, Tova Aretz Mod, it's the best land there is. Don't you ever forget that. Or I can keep going into Chumash and go to Parshas Eikev, which is later in Devarim, and quote you a simple pasuk. Eretz Asher Hashem Elokecha Dorishota, Eretz Yisrael, Israel is the land that Hashem is contemplating, is thinking about. Tamid Einei Hashem Elokecha Ba. Tamid, Hashem is constantly looking at it, constantly watching over it, constantly obsessing over the land of Israel. And I'm sure there are many more. I know there are many more psukim in Chumash that I could go through, and I could add that to this list. And then I could go through Nach, the rest of the parsha, the rest of the Sfarim in Tanakh, and I could and all of Nevi'im speaks about the centrality and the importance of Eretz Yisrael, but I could skip to two famous psukim in Tehillim. First, I could quote to you the pasuk of Shira Malos B'Shuv Hashem Et Shiva Zion Ayinu K'Cholmin. That when we returned to Israel, we were like dreamers, like a thing we never thought was possible, and all of a sudden we're there. Like we never thought this could happen, and now it's here. Which Rabbi Fass, the executive director and co-founder of Nefesh B'Nefesh, he quotes at every single Nefesh B'Nefesh flight, so that the Olim know this is a dream. Realize that this is a dream that's taking place and it's coming true right now. Or I can quote to you another pasuk in Tehillim, a more famous pasuk of Imeshkachech Yerushalayim Tishkachimini. That if we forget you, Yerushalayim, let me forget my right hand. And there are so many other psukim again in Nach that I could quote, and I could add them to this list. And then I could keep going. I could go to Talmud, to the Gemara, and I could quote you the stories at the end of Ksuvos about our Rebbeim, our great rabbi figures rolling around in the dirt of Eretz Yisrael because it was so precious to them, and kissing the stones. Or I could quote to you again another quite famous Gemara in Baba Basra of Avira to Eretz Yisrael, Machkin, that the air, just breathing the air of Eretz Yisrael makes you smarter, makes you wiser, it gives you a different perspective, it makes you see things from a different angle. And there are so many other Gemaras that I could quote to you, and I could add that to the list. And then I could get to Rishonim. It's a long list. I could get to Rishonim, and I could quote to you just simply the first Rashi on Torah. The first Rashi that says that, why does the Torah start from Bereshit bara Elokim? Why? So that everyone knows that the Jews, the land Yisrael belongs to Hashem and it was given to the Jews. That's why the Torah starts, to tell us the Jewish connection to the land of Israel. Or I could go on and I could quote to you the Ramban, another quite famous source, the Ramban in Devarim, that just doing the commandments, just doing the mitzvahs outside of Eretz Yisrael, it's just practice. It's not the real thing. The only real mitzvahs are when you're doing it in Eretz Yisrael. And for sure, that's not to be taken literally. But again, the Ramban's trying to get at something. There was some point behind it. And there are so many other sources that I could quote to you again, and I could put that on the list. And then I could get to Achronim. And again, there's so much to quote. I could quote anything from Rav Kook. I could quote from Rav Teichtel, from the Eimah Bar Smecha, which I started learning specifically in my preparations for Aliyah. But I'll just quote to you from Rav Lichtenstein, a comparison that some of you might have seen already, quoted from me. I originally heard it from Rav Miller. Rav Lichtenstein, Rav Aaron Lichtenstein, who passed away not so long ago, was Rosh Shiva in Yeshivat Har Zion. So when he made Aliyah, he said the following comparison: that the world is like a sports arena. In the arena, there's the playing field. There's where the players play the game, and then there's the grandstands. That's where the spectators sit and they watch the game. So in the world, there's outside of Eretz Yisrael. That's the grandstands. You're seeing what's going on from the Jews in Eretz Yisrael at a distance. But to be in Eretz Yisrael is to be on the field, to be playing the game. It's to be active in the game of Jewish history. To really have an impact on Jewish history and where it's going. That's what it means to be in Eretz Yisrael. That's from Rav Lichtenstein. And again, there are so many other sources in Achronim that I could quote to you. I could put that on the list. This is the best. Now, I could get to the machshava, the philosophical points behind it. I can tell you that we said, at least in my shul, that just on Shabbos, every Shabbos we say that Israel is Rishit Tzmichat Gvulotinu. It's the beginning of our redemption. And that by me going and being active in fulfilling that charge. Or I can quote to you, or I can tell you that when Mashiach comes, it's just much easier to be there. When the Messiah finally comes, you know, who wants to worry about packing their bags and everything has to be under 50 pounds, and I'm sure there's going to be major lines of security. You want to be there already, so it's so much easier. But even if you don't believe in all that, or to, again, quote to you from Rabbi Yeshua Fass, the executive director and co-founder of Nefesh B'Nefesh, even if you don't transcribe to the belief that the state of Israel is a manifest miracle, or that the Zionist movement is a redemption promised by the prophecies, you need to be quite reasonably disengaged to not acknowledge the miraculous times we live in. Acknowledge the miraculous times we live in. That we have our own Jewish army is nothing short of a miracle. That the development, innovation, technological advancements, economic stability are all simply miraculous. That the amount of Torah learning taking place in Israel today has not been rivaled since the times of the Second Temple. That the fact that we can actually pass legislation in our ridiculous and interesting Knesset is beyond miraculous. These are facts, undisputable facts. We live in a time where miracles are daily headlines. And so for me, to be going to Eretz Yisrael is both to be part of a miracle and to witness miracles taking place every single moment. And then I could and I could add all that to the list. And then I could get to the last point, which is probably the most quoted, which are the small perks of being in Eretz Yisrael. The buses say Chag Sameach and Shabbat Shalom. You get off for every Yontif. A lot of times you'll go off for Chol Moed as well. On the holidays, things are lit up with Hanukkah lights, not Christmas decorations. Even just the fact that Independence Day and Memorial Day in Israel means so much more than just a sale at Macy's. And Chavrusa once pointed this out to me, I'd like to put it on my list, that just the way they say Gaby in Israel is just so much cooler. See, in English it's Gaby, but in Hebrew it's Gaby, Mashlomcha. It's like, it sounds much cooler in Israel. And I could add all that to the list. And all the pieces that I didn't quote, I could put that to the list, and I'm sure I could come up with 101 reasons if you stayed here long enough and you all the patience. But the point is, it doesn't really matter. Because when someone really asks me the emes, the truth, why do I want to make Aliyah? I can't answer that in words. Because some questions you just can't answer in words. It's the feeling that I have when I'm there, the feeling that my parents have instilled within me from all my trips that I've been so blessed to have with that through them. And it's an indescribable feeling. My bracha, my hope, and my blessing to all of you is you're able to experience that. You're able, that when you go to Israel, whether it's to visit or hopefully to stay there, that you're able to understand that which I can't express to you in words. Just know that whenever you do go, whether it's next year or whether it's years down the road, whether it's for a week, whether it's for life, please reach out to me. I would love to help plan your trip. I would love to help plan your life there. I would love to help in any way that I can. But probably most importantly, just make sure you tell me your flight number, because I want to be there at the airport to greet you with a huge sign that says welcome home. I'll just finish with one last source which kind of summarizes a little bit of what I was saying. It's the Makor Baruch, which is Rav Baruch Halevi Epstein, who's famous for writing the Torah Tzmima, a commentary on the Chumash. And he says, this is on page 760, this was told to me by Rav Moshe Weinberg, Rita. It says, Avas, it's in Hebrew, but I'll translate it in English. Avas Am Yisrael Eretz Yisrael. In explaining the love that a Jew has for Eretz Yisrael, for Israel. Avat Zu Lo Todas Sibot. This love doesn't need reasons. It doesn't need calculations, and you don't need to find any source or reason for it. It's just inherent. It's just like natural. It's like the way a man loves his son, or the way a man loves a part of his body. If you would ask someone, if you would ask someone, why is it, and for what reason do you love your son? Do you love your eye? Do you love your hand or your foot? He wouldn't know how to answer that. And any reason. He'll just answer because I just know this, I just feel it. That him and his son or his eye or his hand or foot, it's just one. And he doesn't even know how, and there's no reason to even try to answer that question.